Alright, welcome to the 3D Sapiens Road Show. I am your host, Daniel Davis. Call me Dan. It is Friday, January 26th. So I am 54 years old and 1 week. Well, 54 years and 1 week old. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to be heading off up to the Yosemite campground here in a few hours. Before I go, though, I wanted to describe what I call the nest. About a week ago, on my birthday actually, I was shooting a bunch of videos and I put some other stuff on the YouTube channel, about a dozen different things since then. But in all the videos I neglected to really describe what's going on here. So imagine, if you will, on a journey to... No. This could represent a hotel room. This could represent a room in a house that you're renting, like me, kind of, because I'm kind of in the process of moving out, but it's a long story. I'm becoming nomadic, so it's a stage, process kind of a thing. Anyway, or if you own a home or a condo or something, and you decide to keep it even though you're going to be nomadic most of the time, this could represent that. But at the very least, it could represent even a hotel room. So I'm going to show you real quick the main components of all this. What goes on the road, what stays here, what goes in storage, and so on. Of course, this can be either a lot more things or less, depending on your choices and what all you're doing. Personally, I'm doing quite a bit on the road, as far as like different projects, writing and so on that I'm working on, which I'll talk about, so I'll spare you that. But the other thing that I'm going to be showing you that kind of just goes hand in hand, I couldn't really separate it out, amongst all this stuff, is how to keep all these souvenirs, because as I've mentioned, I've lived on 5 continents, I've been to 36 countries, and so on. So I've got a lot of stuff, right? And how do you keep that kind of organized and whatnot? So I'm going to be describing that as we go, because there's ways of incorporating it into your equipment and luggage and whatever, so that you kind of have picture frames, like if you have kids or whatever, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. Or if you're promoting stuff like I am, with the road show and the books and presentations and whatnot, that gives you ways of doing that as well. So, as I give you the tour here, I will be pointing that stuff out as well. Now, first of all, how do I want to do this? Let's start with the stuff that's going to stay in storage. That could be in, like, mini storage. A 10 by 10 would be more than enough, even a 5 by 10 depending on your stuff. So let me kind of give you a tour and show you how to set things up. If you've looked at any of these segments, you would have seen these Cubies. These are really good for books. Let me start the official tour here. Okay, so like I was saying, these Cubies, they stack really well. You can put them on top of file cabinets. The file cabinets can be spread around, so there's holes in them, so to speak, underneath where you can stack things that are going to stay in storage, because even though they're in, plastic containers or cardboard boxes or whatever, you may want some things accessible. Now, personally, I found this layout works the best for me. I used to have it kind of set up like a desk over here with kind of a hole here with one of the file cabinets over, but whatever. Long story short, this works the best for me. So, again, file folders or file cabinets and the Cubies, they can get stacked various ways. Use your imagination. And then you can stack stuff on top, underneath, and so on. Alright, now, as far as the stuff that's going to be with you in the hotel room and on the road. So, if you've seen any of the things at the campground, you will recognize some of the stuff, and I'll go through it there at the campground again some other time. But this is basically my table when I'm sitting in my chair by the fire or wherever. I have adapted it. Now you'll notice there's pictures here of my kids. There's a couple different things I was kind of promoting, which I don't know if I want to do or not. Tutoring and music. But whatever it is that you are promoting, that's one way to do it. On the end of this thing, you'll notice my other kids when they're young. So there's some 8 by 10s that you can get in there. If you look at the top of this thing, stickers, which could also be for sponsors, promoters, whatever. Okay, anyway, this is miscellaneous equipment. I ended up with too many bags at the last minute of stuff I'm throwing in that just kind of needs to go accessible. And I finally decided I'm just going to put it in here, and that way it's accessible and it's a table and you can see various things. Alright, this other thing here, this is the light box. Notice I've got one of the show promotion thingies here, and there's Al. Say hi to Al. Hey, Al. Okay, so this is all the lanterns, flashlights, rechargeable battery thingies, rechargers, the extension cords, and whatnot. You'll notice this photo frame here, by the way. This is magnetic, so it could go up on that thing, which I'll talk about in a minute. So there's one down there as well. That was in Pakistan with my older kids who are now very old. Okay, so toiletries kit, that's usually in the bathroom, but I'm getting ready to go, like I said, and I wanted to show you that. Anyway, on this one, that is the camera box, where this thing goes when I'm not using it. There's the food box, which you've seen in the campground, that blue thing. You'll notice I tried to do some promotional kind of stuff on here, but it just doesn't work very well. I'll show you that better when we get to the campground. I couldn't get stickers to stick on it or anything, so note to people that are trying to advertise, promote, whatever like that, stickers don't stick on these very well. I'm finding this is the best arrangement. Okay, so while we're here, we got vests, hats, various hats, and I'll be talking about why I use different hats, different times, different colors, and all that stuff. This is like a little first aid kit that stays accessible. Down below that is the sock and underwear bag where I need that accessible daily. The two little food bags that you will recall seeing at the campground. Jacket, the clothes that was hanging from the tree, and then my guitar. Thing for my neck, which gets packed into, let's get down here, to the gray backpack. Okay, and a bunch of books, which I'll show you that here in a minute. That gray container right there is kind of like office stuff, binders that I don't really need, terribly accessible, and colored pencils and all that kind of stuff. In that blue little, it's actually a thermos bag. There's a bunch of office equipment kind of things, paper clips and all that you would need in an office, including a bunch of stuff. And down below that, I know it's kind of dark, but you'll see this stuff again. There's a backpack that the computer goes in, and there's what I call the mini MacGyver bag, that black backpack. It's got bags in it, and carabiners, a few tools, stuff like that I might need to actually, fix things, arrange things, organize, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so all that stuff goes on the road, as well as these binders. Basically, these binders that are laid out go in the backpack, and the binders that are over there in the corner, that stuff there goes in the gray plastic container. So, in the next thing that I'm going to be shooting today for riders and such, I'm going to be going through each binder, describing exactly how I organize it, because some of you may need help with organizing things. But for now, you can see what this stuff is here. There's my first book that I quote from sometimes and so on. Ramit's presentations, rider portfolio, which is all on my Facebook page, and then miscellaneous notes thing. You'll notice on the back, this is office information actually. On the back of these things, if I'm not using them for a promotional thing, like the Ramit's, I've got a flyer that goes with that, I also put pictures of the kids there. So, that's another way of having pictures around. Okay, so let's talk about these other pictures here. Now, first of all, I want to get this out of the way because some people are going to go, oh, look at all these pictures of himself and whatever. Now, first of all, I'm sitting in that chair looking back this way, so I'm not even seeing this stuff, thank God. I don't have to look at this stuff all the time. What I'm looking at, when I'm sitting over here, is I'm looking at pictures of my kids and such. So, that's why I've got it arranged this way, but for this show, it makes a pretty good backdrop, and I'm explaining stuff all the time and alluding to pictures and whatnot. So, I've described these in more detail in another author information, I think the number 2. So right now, just for organizational purposes, I just want to go through real quick. Okay, so there's Army. There's that one there is kind of in the shape of the world, where it starts up at Canada, and then Mexico, and then Costa Rica, and then Ecuador, and then we jump over across the Atlantic to England and France, and then down to Africa and Namibia, and then Northern Europe, and so on, Romania, Russia, and then down, blah, 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 India, Pakistan, Greece, whatever. India, Pakistan, over to Thailand. So it's kind of like the world as much as I could make it. Okay, that other one over there, that's all Romania stuff, because when I was there, 94 to 97, I had a blast. I did a lot of stuff in Romania. The next one is kind of goes with these two right here are skydiving stuff. So obviously there's too much stuff to put in one frame, so I had to spread it out. But it's just kind of the more memorable jumps and photos and clippings and whatnot. The other frame over here, this is base jumps. I want to point out real quick, that little scene right there, that is at the bottom of the bridge in that picture. Bixby Creek Bridge on Highway 1 between Monterey and Big Sur. And real quick, this little thing here, that's another place to put photos, as you can see. These photos right here I've got out for the show because I was talking about in music and languages, how music and languages are very good for meeting other people when you're traveling, great way to break the ice and so on. This happened in Sigishwara, which is also the birthplace of Dracula, and where one of my sagas started, but that's another book. Anyway, a friend and I, a couple friends, just floating down there, were hiking up the hill from the center of the medieval town up to the old cathedral, and there were some young people hanging out, playing guitar, and I said, "Hey, Prince, Hotel California?" And they said, "Oh, no, we don't." And I said, "Well, I do." And I said, "So let me," anyway, so I ended up playing Hotel California right there. Next thing you know, I got some new friends. So, word to the wise. For the show, this thing being a magnetic and also erasable whiteboard, it's very good for doing little presentations and whatnot. Okay, back over here to the photos again, because I was showing you Bixby Creek, which is also right there. This one over here is miscellaneous, kind of extreme stuff. I've described this as well. You can see the pictures. I won't waste time. Okay, so that's one way of organizing photos. Another way of organizing photos, which I have put on Facebook already. Everything in those binders, pretty much, except for a few big portrait photos, they are on Facebook.com/DanDavis64. So I'm not going to go through those terribly much right now, except to point out what exactly they are. Okay, so the first two are international, and the color coordination there. The green is Africa, yellow is Americas, blue is Europe, pink is Asia. So the third one is all California and then the United States. You know, like some of the more extreme pictures like that. A lot more of those kind of pictures. And after that, the fourth binder is the currency collection from, I don't know, about 30 different countries worth of money in there. Again, it's on Facebook. And the last one, that gray binder, is the aircraft emergency cards that are in the seat pocket in front of you that must stay upright during landing. Anyway, that's also on Facebook. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, go check those out. Another way of storing souvenirs, which is why the bed is a mess. These all used to be t-shirts or taekwondo gi or tank tops or something along those lines. And as they wear out, they're kind of cool. I don't want to throw them away. There's my name in hieroglyphics. So what are you going to do with them? Well, how about a memory quilt? Like one of my oldest ones, this one right here, Pegasus, that's actually from my first parachutes. The last time I jumped it, it opened up, I looked up, and there was an 8-foot rip right down the middle of it. I'm like, Luckily, there was other people around that I could see I wasn't sinking too fast, so I rode it to the ground, but that was the end of that parachute. So I cut it up, and by the way, any paracord that you see at the campground is actually paracord, usually from that parachute. So anyway, but for the other stuff, like I said, memory quilt, good way to organize it. There's a tea blanket from Bucharest, ASB, and so on. You can see this stuff here. So that would make a great memory quilt. Got enough for one side, but I think I'll wait till I've got enough for two sides. And that way you can have a double-sided one. Alright, so there's another way of doing souvenirs. And this other thing I wanted to show you real quick. Let me guess. It's backwards. Yeah, let me turn it over. Whoa! Okay, so if you've traveled overseas and gone to fast food places, it's like here in the States. they've got their little placemats and whatever, and they can make either great stationery, if you actually do the old school snail mail, send actual letters, use the back of them for stationery. Same thing with hotel stationery, blah, blah, blah. Or what I'm going to do with this, because I've had them for like 20 years and I've never used them, well, I haven't used it that much. So I isolated some of them, and I'm going to put them in one of the binders in document protectors. So that's another way of storing souvenirs. What else? Okay, so just to summarize, we got the big photo frames, we got the binders with stuff in them, we got the memory quilt, and the stuff that goes with you on the road. There's various things that you can put in there if you want to get political. Also, for example, you can do that as well. Okay, so moving on. We already went through the stuff that goes on the road. Binders go on the road. Caddy goes very accessible all the time. Coffee, which actually is still in there, that goes. Clipboard goes. Over here, this stuff, obviously, television. This one, VCR though, the reason I got this particular VCR is because it's got, or DVD player VCR, is because it's got both. And I've got some old videos, like my jump into Bucharest on live television that they gave me a VHS copy of, so I got to transfer it over to DVD, blah, blah, blah. So I need that. The other printer down there, that's the color, that's what I scanned all those photo album pictures with and whatever. This black and white laser printer usually goes with me. Today I don't think I'm going to take it because I'm only going to be up there a couple days. But that easily goes on the road. You might have seen it in the car. That one usually stays here, although there's room for it now, so whatever. Okay, what else do I need to describe here? Like I said, for the contents of the binders for writers and those of you who want to know some more details on how to maybe to organize things, I'll be going through that here in a minute. But the only last couple things, whoops, I should throw the trash out. I'll do that before I go, because if you're going to be gone for a while, that can turn into a real ugly mess. Videos. I like videos because there's no sound, there's no laugh track. I can pause them, rehearse things, catch notes, and so on and so forth. So, because I don't have a TV connection in here, and that's fine, because TV is too distracting for me. So I can put on videos whenever I want. If not, I'm just sitting there working. And I have found, by the way, that with a laptop like that, the easiest way is indeed just sitting right there in the chair. Laptop, I've got it on top of another plastic thing, so it doesn't get me too hot or too much EMF or anything like that. And just sit there and use that little Cubie thingy like a futon. It's also a storage thing. And that's pretty much really what I survive with, or what a person could survive with. There's some extra clothes and stuff in the garage, in the closet. There's storage things in the garage, which I'll talk about at various times. But this is the basic nest situation, right? So, this one last book I forgot to mention over here. This is my reading book. The reason it's over here is because it's usually in the bathroom, which is right across the hallway. And for people like writers and whatever, as long as I'm here, let me just point out, most books that I read tend to end up like that. You can see all the red marks and notes and whatnot. I used to be, almost religious with books. We got to keep them nice, but there's only... Otherwise, making notes of all that stuff takes too much. So if you look at pretty much any of those books in there, other than maybe the big reference ones or whatever, they're all margins are just red ink. So, especially all the history ones down there. That whole row down there is history books. Like that one. Okay. One other thing over here, which I went by real quick. Some of you might wonder, what about all these jumps? How do you keep track of all that stuff? Well, here you go. Let me get this out into the light better. We have actual stamps that we stamp the formations in free fall, or once the canopies open up, if you're doing biplane, side plane, down plane, that's what it looks like. And starting from that. And so on. I've got base jumps in here too. If you're doing just accuracy, you're going to do something like that. So, if you were wondering how we keep track of all that kind of stuff, that's how we do it. Okay, I think I'm done. Am I done? Al, anything to add? No, he doesn't talk much. All right, so I'm gonna stop this one here. This will be travel number 5, I think, of the 3D Sapiens Road Show, and very shortly here I will be doing the rider's tips. I think it's the first one. Again, describing how to organize all this other stuff. So, thanks for tuning in, and have a great day. See ya.